Welcome to Alive to Thrive OT. I'm Tracy Schnabel.
And I'm Lauren Lyman.
And we are two occupational therapists that noticed that there was a gap in the healthcare system, predominantly with nutrition and mental health. So we did all the research for you, and we have our YouTube station primarily just to give that information and share it with you to help you empower yourself to have a better health and better life. We do have a disclaimer though. This is for informational purposes only. If you have a specific medical concern, please address it with your medical provider. We do not give any warranties or representations for the information provided on our YouTube channel or on our website. Please, if you have an emergency, call 911. And without further ado, today we're going to be talking about hurt people hurting people. Okay, Lauren, go ahead and get us started.
Okay, so I want to start off by saying it is not natural for someone to be mean to other people. It's a defense mechanism. It's a method of protection. So why do people use any defense mechanism? Well, one is for survival, right? To defend yourself because you are either on the defense all the time or because you legitimately have something to defend yourself against. But number two is also desperation. So when we aren't taught coping skills to deal with life, to deal with emotions, to deal with problems, then we just default to defense mechanisms because we don't know a healthy way to cope. So hurt people that have a lot of pain, who have history of trauma, who have problems with other people, in their day-to-day life, end up hurting other people. And it's not on purpose. It's not because they're evil people. It's just kind of what happened over time because their body was just trying to get by. They're trying to get by. They're trying to be functioning, and this is the only way they know how to function. So it's important to know what you can do to help the situation, but most importantly, to help yourself. Because obviously it's really uncomfortable to be on the other side of this. So what's important to remember is number one, never take it personally. If somebody is mean to you for no reason, now if there's a reason, okay. If you did something, okay. Feel free to ask them, what you did, because maybe it's something you didn't realize, and that's a whole separate issue. But if it's a reason that doesn't exist or isn't valid, then it's not about you, it's about them. They're not trying to attack you because they hate you. They're attacking you because they're on the defense, because this defense mechanism is popping up for whatever reason. And it may be a reason that's not even bad. Maybe you did really well at something and you achieved something and you feel accomplished, or you got a promotion and they're stuck in a really bad job. They may be mean to you instead of congratulating you, or they may find a way to bring you down just to make them feel a little better about themselves. But that's not about you. That's about them.
It might not even be on a conscious level that they realize that they're doing it. It might be subconscious.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people hurt other people to compensate for their insecurities and to make them feel better about themselves. Again, it's not healthy for either party, and it's not a coping skill. It's a defense mechanism because they haven't learned the coping skills to navigate those emotions of jealousy, of insecurity, of feeling lesser than. So just don't take it personally. It's not your emotion to take on. It's unfortunate that they're going through this, but it's their thing and it's not yours to take on. Don't assign the blame to yourself when it's not due.
Yeah, with certain people, you could do everything 100% perfect. And as the example I gave one time to Lauren is you could be 100% perfect and they could be like, why are you so perfect?
Oh, that could be the problem.
You're such a show off. So, yeah.
So never take it personally. That's the first and foremost. Want to throw that out there to protect yourself. But number two, something that you can do proactively to help the situation. If you're not taking it personally, then you're not going to be defensive, right? But then you can bring it to the person's attention. So bringing it to their attention, again, like Tracy said, it may be a subconscious thing that they're doing. They may not even realize that they offended you or hurt you. But again, it's a protective instinct. It's just underdeveloped mechanism to protect themselves, right? So it's not productive, but it's all they know. So bring it to their attention. And if you continue to bring it to their attention every time it happens, you're taking that subconscious issue and bringing it to a conscious level. So, okay, now they can be more aware of it and they can kind of watch themselves, because like anything in life, practice makes perfect. You have to practice skills in order to be able to use them effectively and able to use them from like muscle memory. You want them to become second nature. And right now, these defense mechanisms are second nature. So understand that it may take time for these changes to take place. But also understand that this person may apologize and try to change and it'll improve the relationship, or they'll just say, screw you, and continue the behavior. So that's when you kind of get that fork in the road. You can continue down this path where you keep bringing it to their attention. It keeps continuing. It keeps hurting you, even though you're trying not to take it personally. But it's not okay. It's not acceptable behavior. But you're letting it continue. And that's where we're doing a video on boundaries, why it's important to establish boundaries. We'll post that next week, so stay tuned for that. But they go hand in hand. I mean, it's important to set boundaries for your own health, but if you're not changing your behavior and they're not changing their behavior, that's causing a problem.
Yeah, what you allow will continue.
Right. Yeah. So if they're not willing to change, that means it's time to reassess your behavior and your response to their behavior so that you can protect yourself. Because ultimately, it is your responsibility to take care of yourself. So if you're not doing that, now you're becoming unhealthy. And is your health worth sacrificing to allow this person to continue maladaptive behavior?
And I've had people even that I've used this with where they started to realize, oh, I'm doing just what my mom did, or oh, I'm doing just what my grandma did. I used to hate that when they did that to me. I'm becoming them. And then it brings, like we said, to their awareness, and then they start to recognize that and can change it. So try to give people the benefit of the doubt, when trying this with them, because like we're saying, it might not even be, it might be like a program.
Mm-hmm.
So
we are all programmed in some way or another. So, and it takes a lot to break it. So again, be patient. If you see that they're trying to make changes, great, be supportive of that, because the more you are harassing them or insulting them about it when they're actually trying, the worse it's going to be, because then you're feeding into all of those negative feelings that are causing this defense mechanism. But again, if they're not if they're not taking you up on your suggestions, if they're not trying to resolve anything, not trying to fix anything, then it's time to reassess and say, okay, now I need to protect myself. And that brings you to step number 3, is holding the person accountable. So behavior cannot and will not be fixed if it's not resulting in some kind of negative consequence. And I'm not saying it's your job to punish other people for their bad behavior, except your child, of course, but it's not your responsibility. It's not your job. But if you're not holding that person accountable, then they may be taking advantage of the situation. Like, I can do and say whatever I want. She'll get mad at me for a day or two. It'll blow over and then it'll be fine. And then I can go back to doing what I did before. And they may be completely fine with that because they're like, oh, she'll just be mad at me for a little while. It'll blow over. It's no big deal. And then you're stuck with all those negative feelings, and that person is stuck, or that person continues the behavior, and it builds and it builds and it builds. And what it's doing is driving a wedge in the relationship, because eventually everything's going to add up and you're just not going to be able to handle it anymore. So holding the other person accountable is not only important for your health, but it's important for the relationship between you and the other person. So, having no consequence, and I want to really stress this, having no consequence or no negative impact from their bad behavior can be just as effective as a reward. So if you say, well, I'm not rewarding them for their behavior, but if you're not doing anything, that in itself is kind of a reward, because like, hey, I got away with that. So it kind of is a reward in itself. So make sure you're holding that person accountable for the change. And I'm not saying use ultimatums and threaten them and things like that. You want to be supportive, but again, if they're not willing to change, now it's time to shift the focus. And that brings us to number 4, put yourself first. You need to protect yourself. Ultimately, in this life, you are your number one responsibility. Yes, you may have kids and other relationships you're trying to foster, but you need to take care of yourself or you can't take care of anybody else. So if somebody is constantly berating you or putting you down or making you feel bad about yourself, you try not to take it personally, of course, but it's still going to affect you. And then that's going to carry into your other relationships, your relationships with other people. So now you're saying, oh, well, you know, everything's fine. I need to put my child first or whatever. But if that person's affecting you emotionally, that's going to affect the energy that you give off. It's also going to affect your behavior, whether you realize it or not. And it's also going to model to your kid that I can let other people walk all over me, or I don't have to set boundaries. And then that brings up a whole nother bunch of issues, because setting boundaries is the foundation for any kind of healthy relationship with anybody, with a sibling, with a child, with a parent, with a spouse, with a friend. Setting boundaries is so important, and we want to be modeling that to our kids too. So if you think it's not affecting them, it is.
Yeah, so protect your energy and protect your children by protecting your energy. So I think that summarizes hurt people hurting people.
Yeah. So one tip I will say is don't make it a vendetta. Don't make it about revenge.
Yeah.
Just make it about how can I foster the best, healthiest relationships in my life. And if this one relationship is ruining other relationships, and you're doing everything you can to fix it, but it just isn't resonating with the other person, they're not wanting to change, they're not wanting to do anything, okay, well, I have to preserve my other life relationships. And that includes your relationship with yourself and your self-worth and your self-respect. And remember, if you do have kids or, nieces, nephews, whoever, if kids are looking up to you, they're going to model your behavior. So you need to teach them that it's important to set boundaries. It's important to have healthy relationships, and it's important to be confident and to care enough about yourself to defend yourself and to take a stance when it needs to be taken. So that's it. Hurt people, hurting people. It's not about you, it's about them, but these are some tips, some steps you can take to help foster the healing relationship or healing the relationship, and not always effective. It depends a lot on the other person. So I hope it works for you. I hope it helps. If nothing, I hope it helps you at least heal yourself. So please like this video, subscribe to our channel, sign up for alerts, share this video with other people. Visit us at www.facebook.com/Lauren and Tracy. And if you have any questions, if you're looking for a holistic health and wellness coach, home detoxification, Reiki practitioner, just send us an email at alive2thriveot@gmail.com.
And as usual, we are wishing you physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.